Welcome to the Libra Lounge with Keisha podcast. Hope you guys are having a fantastic week. I don't know about y'all, but to me, these weeks, I don't, oof. Like by Tuesday, I felt like I've already gone through a whole week. And I can't keep blaming COVID for all of this. It's just something. Are we still in retrograde? I think we are still in retrograde, and that shit throws off everything in life. But what it does not throw off is our social media pages. So make sure you are following us on the Libra Lunch with Keisha podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also subscribe to us on iTunes. You can also listen to the show on the TuneIn app and the Laughable app and iHeartRadio. So my dad my dad was with a group of people and trying to showboat a little bit about his kid, and he's like, yeah, my daughter's show is I Love Radio. So I'm gonna have a meeting with him that before you try to brag on anything, you might want to have all the facts straight. Now, all you did was had a group of people in their late 50s and early 60s sitting there trying to find my show on I Love Radio. That's probably like a porn radio site or something like that. I Love Radio up a black girl's ass, some shit like that. So, if you're a friend of the Libra Lounge, you know what time it is. It is time for the Gab.
We know she has a really big mouth, which sounds kind of dirty, and that's probably true too. Let's gossip. The Gab with Keisha.
Holy shit. Okay, I never thought that this day would come. Not that I was hoping that it would come, but it just no one could have foreseen this. We are literally experiencing the fall of Ellen DeGeneres. Like, is that really where we are right now in the world? Now, we all hate Ellen? Ellen is horrible? According to a lot of her employees and some celebrity guests, she is quite the horrible. So first, about a month ago, someone asked me, like, why are all these things about different people coming out now? It's because shit, it's like run, don't tell it all now. Everyone's a little bit bold about things that go on, and people just don't feel afraid to speak their truth. So it started internally where some of Ellen's employees were saying that they had really bad work conditions. They were saying that it was stressful in there. They were required to do things that weren't part of their job description, and they were treated kind of subhuman. And I'm like, ain't that some shit right there? These motherfuckers working for Ellen DeGeneres and still complaining. Ellen could have had my whole office be in a box, and I would have been like, okay, but I work for Ellen DeGeneres. Like, Ellen could have said, you have to work all day, no pee breaks, no smoke breaks, no lunch break, no nothing. I can do that. But do I still work for you, Ellen? Yes. Okay, I can do that. But oh no, you got these people saying, some of this stuff doesn't even make sense, okay? Like, one of the employees said that someone else said something that was racial. Okay. And even though we're all in a very hypersensitive time right now, as far as race relations, when she said the thing that she said, I can't even remember what she said because that's how insignificant it was. I was like, girl, I've been called a black bitch at work before and didn't file a report. And you're trying to report on this? But apparently, shit is really bad over there because there's not an internal investigation. Like, I didn't really realize that you could file a suit to have a talk show under I didn't think Hollywood worked like that. I thought Hollywood was you could like roofie people and still be okay. You could steal people's songs and shit and sing it yourself and not give them credit nor pay them. I thought that's what Hollywood is all about. I didn't know you could do like, I didn't know there was a number to call to say, Ellen them not treating me right. Like, how do you find that out? What is the number? What do they say when you say you're trying to report Ellen? I would have been like, are you talking about the Ellen DeGeneres? The one who was one of the first people to come out on a comedy show That one, the one that always tries to dance, but she really can't dance, and she's always writing big checks to children, especially the ones that like can't walk and shit. She always gives to them. That Ellen DeGeneres? I'm sorry, man. We cannot complete your complaint right now. Try again later. That's what I would. If you know the number that you call to report people, especially celebrities like Ellen, even like Kim Kardashian, you can really file complaints on them? I thought the most you could do was just get on Twitter and say something bad about them and then just carry on with your day. However, last week we had two guests who had been on Ellen's show. What was the tall, goofy guy who was on Everybody Loves Raymond? He played the brother. He looks like he's half Mexican and half Lurch.
That's Brad Garrett.
Brad Garrett. Oh, I guess since he ain't been in nothing in a long time, he has not. What has he been in?
He's the yellow M&M.
Like I said, he ain't been in nothing in a long time. So he felt that he was like, okay, I'm going to jump on this boat and see maybe if I can get me a new acting gig, because since Ray Romano's show is off, brother having a hard time. So he did say that, you know, when he was there were a list of things that you are told as a guest that you cannot do. And one of them is you cannot approach nor talk to Ellen. And I guess Leah Thompson, she was the mom in Back to the Future? Yeah, Leah Thompson. She would co-sign. She said, "Oop, it's true. It is most definitely true." So here's the thing: Leah Thompson has been in the business for a long time. She's been in film. She's been on TV. Even what's the Mexican Lurch guy's name again?
Brad Garrett.
He's been around for a long time too. So this is completely different from like if someone like Black China was complaining about Ellen. I'd be like, girl, go sit down somewhere, go clean that stripper pole, oil it up real good. You got to work tonight. But these two, these are people who've been in the business for a while. So I got to believe them. I really, really, really do. Why would they lie? They have nothing to gain from it. But then I was like, well, if I had a talk show, I wouldn't want motherfuckers talking to me either. Like, no, we're going to talk once we get on the stage. What do we need to talk about before? I'd be like, don't even look at me. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't even be in the same building as my guest. I would be in a building next to it, and I would only go over there when it was time to do the show. I mean, is it wrong for someone to say, I don't want to be spoken to or approached by a guest?
It's weird because other talk show hosts go and meet and talk.
Yes.
And then on the flip side, you got some that are like, I don't want to waste any good conversation.
That is very true.
For the show.
Yeah. And, you know, yes, we're a little bitty podcast, but we get into a zone right before we start recording. I'm annoyed. I don't want anyone really talking to me, and particularly producer James. I don't want anyone talking to me, bothering me. I'm in my zone. I'm trying to get my head straight. I'm trying to block out everything that is life. You know what I mean? Because it does affect your flow when you are on the mic. So I don't see that much wrong in it. However, I will say it would not hurt if Ellen went over there and shook someone's hand and said, hi, thanks for being on the show. Is there anything you need? And just make it real quick, you know, because it sounds like Ellen, who we all assume was very personable, is not really that personable in real life. But again, is that just not okay? She has the right to do that. I don't know. But I you know, Ellen released a statement, and it kind of seems like she doesn't want to continue with her show. She lying. Let me tell you that right now. She is not about to miss out on those chicks. Not at all. Watch this happen. In 2 weeks' time, y'all gonna see Ellen and Portia deGrassi, or whatever her wife's name is, in Africa with the most snottiest nosed kids taking pictures, and they gonna have a real big check. And it's gonna say, to all the little ugly, skinny, homeless, hungry black kids, here's $1 million. And everything's gonna be okay. I get it. Every job has issues, okay? Look, I worked in the school system for 6 years. You will not believe some of the crazy shit that goes down with teachers, educators. I mean, there are some days you're like, this is not mentally okay for me. So I can't say I'm on or nor off of Ellen's side. I figure it's her show. She can do whatever she wants to do. As long as when the camera is rolling, she's doing what she's supposed to do. As long as she's promoting whatever it is that you want her to promote, all should be well. She's not there to be your friend. The show is called The Ellen DeGeneres Show. Look, as long as she continues to give gifts to her audience, that is fine. Those are the people who are important. Fuck y'all. Y'all are celebrities. Somebody else can kiss your ass. Why does it have to be Ellen? I'm just saying that's how I look at it.
I mean, maybe there's a difference between, having some rules and actually having like a toxic work environment.
And that's what everyone's saying, is that it's very toxic. Back to what I just said, I worked in the school system. That is some toxic shit that I went through. There were some days where I'm like, I can't do this no more. Like, it's not worth it. It's so much competitiveness, so much pettiness. And these are the adults. These are not even the kids. It's the adults that are doing this. So I hope that Ellen, I hope that she gets an opportunity to speak her side. And if there is a need for her to apologize, I know that Ellen will do that. And also, if you do go ahead and decide to quit the show, I know someone who would love to take your place. And they thought you were toxic. They ain't seen nothing yet. Moving right along, speaking of toxic, we're going to talk about Meghan Markle. All right. I can't stand this girl. I cannot stand this girl. I have never seen someone who hit the jackpot in life, okay? The jackpot. You came from a black mom who looks like, I think she's a yogi, and then you have this white dad who seems to be the epitome of trash along with his other white kids. You still manage to get a prince. Not like a little foreign country in Greece prince, okay? Not like a little hut African prince. You got one of the princes of the world. You got Harry. And your ass still not happy. She is the most complaining person on planet Earth. Okay, so number one, the majority of the women saw it in your eye that you were plotting on this shit since day one. I think you knew exactly where Harry was going to be the night y'all met, and you put it down on him, all right? So you, this is going to sound horrible, but yo, black ass, they let your black ass in the castle. Yeah, you're still not happy. Okay, so you marry the prince, you immediately get pregnant, which is smart. That is very, very smart on your part. You have this beautiful baby. You're living this beautiful life. Your daddy has embarrassed the fuck out of you. But you know what? The queen is still dealing with you. You will be the first person of color to ever have a portrait in the castle. But you're still not happy. So you made this boy leave his entire everything, his family, his money, his life, to come be with your ass in Canada and LA? Okay. But you're still not happy. Now you're trying to sue all the tabloids in Europe, England, I'm sorry, who post things about you. Bitch, that's how you stay relevant, okay? I don't get this girl. Every week it is something new. It's like you married a prince, yet you didn't think that you were going to constantly be in the news? Yes, you are. I'm just confused by what she thought it was going to be. You can't marry one of the princes of the world and expect to just live a normal life. It doesn't work that way. Now she's complaining about how she was never fully accepted, how people treated her different. But you know what? I can spot a diva from a mile away. And I think you went in there acting an ass, expecting people to treat you a certain kind of way. Bitch, you knew. You knew, okay? You need to come in. First of all, I would be like, is there a map for inside the castle so I can know how to get around? Is this shit gonna be like Hogwarts and the stairs, they switch and they change, and what was one way is now another way? Those are the things I'm gonna be concerned about. Also, do y'all have Popeye's chicken that can be delivered here to the castle? That would be high up on my list of things that I wanna know about. Are there ghosts in the castle? What? Those are the things. But this bitch just, in one word, she goes, I don't want all this fame, but you're constantly doing things to be in the news. Like, you guys stepped down from being senior royals. That would have never happened with me. No, I'm going full royal to the very, very end, okay?
So I got to ask, how long would you walk around Buckingham Palace waiting for one of the paintings to talk to you?
I would go up there and talk to them. Hi. I'm Keisha. I'm working on my English accent. Can you help me do that? Can you help me? So maybe the Queen and I can understand one another a little bit better. That would be me, okay? This girl is never, ever happy. And every time there's a picture of her and Harry, it really looks like she is a kindergarten teacher who has the child on the first day of school that kept crying and holding on to their mom's leg, and she had to pull him away and walk around the classroom and teach with him by her side, saying, here, Harry, this is your seat. I'm going to sit you next to Tommy. Tommy, can you be Harry's friend? And she's directing him on how to, Harry, after you go number 2, you have to use the toilet paper and wipe. And then after that, you have to come over here, Harry. You have to wash your hands. She looks like she bosses this guy around. I don't get it. And let's just be honest. Meghan Markle don't want to be black. She is in the same category as Tiger Woods. Black by convenience. Bitch, I've seen the roots of your hair and I've seen the edges of your hair. You're not fooling anybody. I think that if she had a better white side of the family, we would never even know she would never have claimed to be half black. But her white side of the family is so fucked up. She's like, I guess I gotta stick with her ass. So come on, mama, let's go. Let's go on to the castle. It's like, Meghan, chill the fuck out. Do what you do. You were the dream of every Disney film about a princess until recently. It was to marry the prince. Be happy with that and shut the fuck up, okay? Now we'll give you this. I love the bitch's style. I love her style. She is always dressed complete perfection. This was even before she became the Duchess, which I guess she don't even have that title anymore. I'm sorry, I'm not about to fuck up anything that's gonna take my title away. All right, speaking of titles, we're going to list something. I just find this so comical because, you know, I have a sick sense of humor. But we're going to show you a list of children's books with hilariously inappropriate titles. I actually still have this on my phone. Okay. Producer James is going to show you the pictures of the type of the, what do you call the front of the book? The front of the book. Yes.
The cover?
The cover of the book. Our first children's book with an inappropriate title is Mommy Drinks Because of You. She also does lines of coke because of you as well. The next book is, do you want to play with my balls? Well, if you're talking to a boy, the answer would be abso-fucking-lutely yes. You can play with my balls. You can play with my balls on the schoolyard, at home, in the car. You can play with my balls. The next book is, put Tony's nuts in your mouth. That kind of goes along with, so he must be related to the little boy that wants you to play with the balls. Here's the thing, men always like for you to play with the nuts, okay? Don't forget the balls, don't forget the nuts. Okay, our next title is, If You Give a Pig the White House. Enough said right there. All right, our next one is, Charlie Chokes His Chick. You know what, this has a lot to do with dicks. Like, do you think the people who wrote these books were suppressing something? What was going on with them?
No, I think they were totally innocent. It's just they probably just not aware what it really means.
Look,
what we think it means.
Yeah, you have to remember, there's people like us in the world, and we will jump on any opportunity to make something sound completely fucked up. Okay, like this, cooking with poo.
Which is Winnie the Pooh, to be fair.
But to be fair, they didn't say that in the title. It just says cooking with poo.
It really should have been cooking with Winnie. That was something like that.
Winnie the Pooh.
Or cooking with Tigger or Piglet or any other character.
Because, I mean, let's just be honest. Winnie the Pooh don't look like he cooks much because he concentrates majority on eating. Have you seen his belly? He's got a beer belly. He's got a honey belly. Is that what it is?
It's honey.
All that honey. Okay, and so the last book is, if you give a kid a cookie, will he shut the fuck up? Temporarily, he will, okay? Temporarily, the child will shut the fuck up. But as soon as that cookie is gone, It's going to be, but I have to go to the restroom. But I need a glass of water. There's a monster underneath my bed. It will always be something. That's why you give them Benadryl. You give them Benadryl at nighttime. Then they will shut the fuck up. All right, when we get back, we're going to have my guest, Keith Henry, who's going to talk about some of these social issues that are going on in our crazy world right now. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Libra Lounge with Keisha. I have with me in the studio Keith Henry. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm here. Why don't you introduce yourself to the Libra Lounge audience?
Hello. Hi, my name is Keith Henry, and I am a candidate for City Commissioner in Texas City of District 1. I grew up in Galveston in public housing by a single mother, my twin brother and I. I was able to, as I say, fortunate to attend college on the track scholarship because I could run fast and turn left, okay. Basically. And when I did that, I graduated from Buffalo State College in New York. Then I went on to obtain my master's degree in public administration, PhD, public policy, and from there, I guess recently a PhD in public policy. And prior to that, I worked 10 years in government, primarily in both Austin and Washington, D.C. And so for the last 2 years, I wanted to come home and give back to my community by running for this position.
So you have a PhD?
And that, I am writing my dissertation. So I meant to say that. I'm completing my dissertation currently.
So when that happens, do this for me. Like, that is your official title, is doctor. Do not allow, like, your wife has to call you Dr. Keith. Everyone has to, because that's how I would be. I'm like, do not call me Rakisha. It is doctor. That is my first name. It's
no,
doctor.
I'd rather people just call me Keith.
See, that's why you will be a man of power, and I'll just continue being a peon. Because if I had too much power, I would take full advantage of it.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So, okay, I'm a feminist. Everyone who knows me, everyone who watches the show knows that I'm a feminist. So how do you feel that it's important for women to be on the forefront after we have basically been trained to be in a supportive role?
And yeah, I think, one, I was raised by a single mom, right, which I mentioned in the introduction. So I saw her working laboriously, like 3 and 4 jobs. I mean, at the time, I think growing up, I don't ever remember her just having one job. And her work ethic, and also just her stern discipline on my brother and I, just put in our psyche that women are strong. Women can do anything a man can do. And in addition to that, I also have 2 daughters. And I don't want them to grow up and go into a world where they don't get chosen for a job that they qualify on the sole basis that they're a woman. So I tell them to never let anybody tell you to wait your turn.
Right.
And I guess in traditional pathologies, though, and I say this even as a Christian man, is I think that we play those gender roles.
Right.
And that creates this stigma that women shouldn't be able to lead, which is absurd on its face. I've seen my mother. My wife certainly leaves our house. No doubt about.
She knows what's up.
No doubt about that. But I've also seen very far and few between, unfortunately, to this point, very few women in powerful positions. But the women that I have seen have done phenomenally well.
Right.
And so that, how do we dispel those traditional roles? I think it's going to take us men to listen more, certainly.
James, write this down. Pen and piece of paper.
James, I need to listen more too. Trust me, in the Henry household, my wife doesn't think I listen enough either.
He got told that yesterday very loudly. He was told that.
So certainly we need to listen more, be more empathetic, and also need to be more. We need to be advocates for women.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to listen, but if we're sitting at the round table and we're able to make the decisions, we need to say, hey, let's give this woman a shot,
right,
and not base it off basically this person knows my uncle, or I play golf with this person's brother.
That's small town right there.
Right.
Uh-huh.
You know, and it's more so. I've seen it pretty much everywhere I go,
Mm-hmm.
and that certainly needs to change.
That one is a hard one right there. You know, especially I think we have this conversation every few months. Just that small town mentality, and sometimes you get caught up with the good old boy gang, especially in our backyard. And it's like, how do we break that down? But I think by doing things like this, that is part of it. In our household, well, James says me and my mom are the two most, I don't need a man having women he's ever met in his entire life. And I told him, I was like, in my eyes, Black women aren't given the choice not to be strong. We have to learn how to do everything. And that's just how we are brought up, period. And especially since, statistically, a lot of Black women are single moms. So you have to just do those roles. However, in my household, James does the dishes. James does the laundry. James does what else? Everything I don't feel like doing. Just he does it, and he lets me be me. You know what I mean? And I'm not a domestic goddess at all. No, and he knows he'll get fired. So if he doesn't do the right thing. So, we have a lot of women that are stepping up. In your opinion, who are the women to watch? Who are the women that you think every woman should know about? Besides Oprah. That's a given.
Well, certainly they're the luminaries that are popular and mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
We know about Michelle Obama.
Mm-hmm.
We know about Beyonce. I do think that we also need to look back at our historical
Mm-hmm.
individuals. Ida B. Wells,
Mm-hmm.
Susan B. Anthony is one.
Mm-hmm.
Who else do I want to name? I want to name Shirley Chisholm,
Mm-hmm.
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Mm-hmm.
Helen Keller is probably one of my favorite individuals. All of these women existed at a time where there were essentially no rights for women.
Right.
And they never allowed anyone to define who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think many women can learn from those individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I would say, and regardless of anybody's politics, I think people have to look at Congresswoman Cortez,
Mm-hmm.
and also another congresswoman. They slipped my mind. So, but those women, again, it's something about never letting anyone tell you what your place is.
Right.
They had this internal fortitude, both the historical luminaries and also the current women's empowerment, that no one is going to stop me from my goal, from my dream, and that's important. So I would certainly the women I mentioned certainly recommend.
And nowadays, I mean, if a man tells a woman she can't do something, that could get you cut.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. James, who's the girl that everyone hates? What's an A?
He mentioned her, AOC.
Yeah. I think that she's just so bold. She is so bold. I mean, when you see her walk into a room, you cannot not look at this girl.
Right.
You know what I mean? She is unapologetically herself. You know what I mean? Now, she may not always say the right thing, or sometimes the stuff that she says is like, ooh, okay. But she is bold. She's fearless. And she's so captivating to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's one of those, and I made a post about this. I don't agree with a lot of her policy, but you definitely need people like that on both sides, left and right, to be active, to be, to be seen, to be part of the process.
Yeah.
So.
Women that are just saying, You know, just the thought that there are some women that don't do certain things because they don't think that that's a role for a woman. It still goes on a lot.
Oh yeah.
You know, and right now with our society, James and I were actually talking about this. Women are still so overly sexualized. You know,
some of that's by their own doing. Or
right.
I mean, classical feminism has moved from a point of equality to a point of men are pigs, we should be pigs too, just to match that. So you get that over sexualization is empowerment, which works great all the way until that shame wall starts to hit.
We always not get into it, but we always debate about Cardi B.
Okay.
Because I love Cardi B. And he's just like, what is she just turn that music off? He was like, I feel bad you wasted your money downloading that. I'm like, well, I'm not, turn it up. And then me and my daughter are sitting there rapping right along with me. He's like, what? You let her say? I'm like, it's in the song, you know? But again, she's someone, she doesn't care. She's who she is. She doesn't try. She's like, yes, I went from the strip club. Now look where I am. And to me, there's a journey there. You know, people may see her and say she's gross or disgusting, but she doesn't care. You know, and I think that right in as much as he, you know, he grew up listening to country music and classic rock stations, and
I recognize talent.
She has talent.
It's, you know, if it's my daughter listening to things, I get a little more sensitive than if it's a stranger, especially from someone who can barely read and barely talk.
She can talk, you just can't always understand what she says.
Okay.
She can talk, though.
and I can understand both points. With Cardi B, I do think, yes, her music is raunchy. Mm-hmm. Nonetheless, her narrative is the American dream.
Exactly.
Right? You come from
nothing,
humble beginnings, and now you live this opulent lifestyle.
Right.
It's hard work.
It's a lot of hard work.
Now, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when she was Cardi B before she got her teeth fixed. Before she got the veneers, I mean, she was struggling big time. And personally, I'm rude, crude. I'm a little bit raunchy. If anyone who watches the show, I mean, anything may come out of my mouth, and poor James, bless him, he's such a good man. So, you know, why do you think it is that people still fear women being in power?
Antiquated.
Why is that funny?
Have they met you?
Well, you know,
we're going to have a meet after the show. And turn your mic off.
James, I don't want you sleeping on the couch tonight.
Okay. Look, he could just blink the wrong way one day, and it's like, we're getting a divorce.
I've had plenty of nights where I've slept on the couch. Mm-hmm. I'm still learning. I'm still learning.
It's a journey.
Yeah. Just these antiquated, just ideologies about what a woman's role or place is why people fear women in leadership, or this notion that women are emotional and they can't handle pressure, and we need a man when it comes down to it, which I think is nonsensical, absurd on its face. Mm-hmm. You know, well, humans are emotional, right? Mm-hmm. And you know, the one thing that at least I personally believe is when it comes to organizational structure, you know, a woman will certainly be probably the more plausible option. Mm-hmm. But we have to look at capability.
Right.
So on the sole basis, we just can't look at gender or even race for that matter.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah. You know, I think, and when people say that women are emotional, well, there are certain times during the month that we are. I will say, for me, it's always good to have that voice of reason, you know, and sometimes it needs to be a man to right there say, you need to chill. You know, you eating pickles and you eating chocolate. You know what time of the month it is. Please do not nuke China right now because you are having a moment, you know. So I do get that part. And when people say that, I can't really argue with it. I'm like, I'm a woman, and yes, sometimes we are emotional. And the next day we're like, I'm sorry, for what I said when I had PMS. My bad. So, but I do feel people still view women as being soft. Like we can't make big decisions. I mean, in our household, I do wear the pants. Is that fair to say?
I think socially, yeah.
And I think that, you know, it takes a strong man to be with a woman who can lead, you know, because most men, they want to be the head of the household. And I mean, we both have our roles in what we do, but it has nothing to do with our gender at all. He don't want me to be in charge of the money because I'll spend it all, you know. I just wait for him to say, watch your spending this week. And I'm like, why are we poor this week? So, you know, it's the relationship, you know.
And I've worked for women and men in corporate America, and it's down to the individual. I mean, I've had women who led like men. I've had men who led like women, and it's the individual ultimately. Because the style doesn't follow the gender.
Yeah. So, but you have worked for some crazy women, though. And that's coming from a woman.
I hate to say it. The craziest ones have been women.
Yeah, they have.
Again, there's crazy on both sides.
Yeah, but on y'all's side, that they was all a little bit crazy. Like, yeah. So you know, everyone is still. We're trying to keep Breonna Taylor and her case in the news as much as we can, because she hasn't even started to get justice for being killed. Do you think that's because she's a woman or because she's black, or is it just like a combination of both?
I think it's simply because she's a black woman. And the reality of it is, had that been a white woman, the outcome would be different. We would likely have seen an arrest already, you know, and that goes to a lot of white fragility. And, you know, if it was one, I don't even want to say microcosm, but probably the quintessential example of white woman's fear is the individual in Central Park in New York who called the police and just, you know, the theatrics.
She's been a Karen. She's been a Karen.
And you just wonder, and at least my experience as a black man and having black daughters and an African-American wife, African-American mom, they wouldn't be able to get away with that. You know, not without.
Oh God, no,
you know,
no,
not without consequence.
Immediate consequences.
And so, it's to my firm opinion is certainly because Breonna Taylor is a black woman.
Well, you know, Oprah put, because Oprah Winfrey has her magazine and no one has ever been on the cover of it. So Oprah actually put Breonna Taylor on the cover of her magazine. And to me, that is really a cry for justice for this young lady, because no one's listening. And I don't know if you saw the photos that were circling the interwebs of the district attorney who's responsible for her case, who is an African-American man, at his engagement party to his white fiance, and he was the only black person there. It literally looked like a scene from that movie Get Out.
Okay.
I was like, "Oh, you might be in danger." I don't know, but I think it just makes it worse. That really makes people more angry, because here's a person who clearly had a black mother, a black grandmother, probably has black sisters, and he's not trying to seek justice for Breonna. You know.
And that part remind me, the optics look bad, and regardless of, to me, so be it if all your contemporaries, all your friends are white. That is your right, that is your privilege.
Absolutely.
And we shouldn't be basing our friend decisions based off our
color,
exactly. Right? If we want an equitable world. The issue there is, let's just do what's right.
Yeah.
Let's simply do what is right. It shouldn't be a political posture, or you trying to protect the police union, or individuals within government. just do what's right.
Yeah.
And let and then let the rule of law play out. Let's take it to a jury if we have to.
Yeah, I think people feel like she's being ignored, and that's why we're having to on social media do hashtag Breonna Taylor and justice for Breonna Taylor. And you know what? We should have to do that.
No.
You know what I mean? So I know you say you have daughters and they helped dress you and they did a superb job. Good job, ladies. How do you prepare Black young women, especially dark-skinned Black young women, for a world that women are already oppressed, but then we're also oppressed within our own culture because of our skin tone? And I say that because I'm very dark-skinned, and I've always gotten, oh, you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl, you're pretty for a Black girl. But then I have a daughter who is light-skinned, who is an attractive young lady, but I've always taught her that does not come from your skin tone. You know what I mean? And even now people will say, oh, she's so pretty, because they assume her dad is white. And I'm like, no. I'm like, back when I was young, like, people don't know that you can just be light-skinned. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't have to be mixed race. I mean, we used to say bright. Oh, she's just bright. But I think you have to go a step further with girls who are dark skinned.
And from the outside, just as an outsider looking in, it's kind of obvious that colorism in some areas runs pretty strong.
In the South, yeah, most definitely.
Well, because I've heard Black women actually say, "Look at her and her light skinned ways."
Like, oh, okay. He's talking about me, because I said
no,
to my daughter all the time.
I mean,
I said, you acting light skinned today. That's that yellow bone. That's that yellow bone in you right now. But yeah.
But what is that? That is assigning an expectation of behavior based on a tone. What is that?
All right. Well, in our house, we joke about just about anything, so she knows it's not a real thing. But because she'll randomly tell me, if we were alive during the slave days, I'd be in the house, you'd be out in the field. Now I just have to wave at you. So, we talk about major issues, important issues, but we also add like a touch of comedy to it, because it just makes you feel more open to communicate about it. But I do think that brown-skinned girls have it just a little bit tougher.
That one is deep.
It's a hard one.
That one is and certainly in the African American lexicon, we all say it in jest about light skin, dark skin. The way we use the N word. We can have, and we debate back and forth, and just speaking on N word just a little bit. Then
go for it.
That I was at a training for my job, and one of the individuals, he said that he doesn't like, and he's a white man, and he doesn't like the fact that his students use the N-word in his class, and so he's going to talk to the parents. So I gave him a warning. I told him, listen, I understand you have great intent. I don't use the word. I don't like the word either. However, you have to understand Black folk. You might go to those parents and tell them.
You're going to hear a lot more than an N-word.
But he couldn't understand that logic. And I think colorism is a lot around the same lines. We do see that, though, in entertainment, that typically the most prominent individuals happen to be light-skinned.
Yeah.
Even if we look at the first African-American president, which I absolutely adore, President Obama, but some scholars have questioned, what if he was a dark-skinned man initially? Look at Jesse Jackson first, right? So, nonetheless, you still can't disqualify President Obama's credentials.
We miss you, Obama. The world really needs you right now. We do.
Yeah, we do. So we go back to colorism with women, and it goes also back to what you said with sexism as well. Whose able to reveal more skin, who's more appealing to what they quote unquote crossover audiences.
Right.
And not only does it happen in the entertainment world, it also happens in the corporate world as well.
Absolutely.
You know, women, it's still very rare that women are again in executive positions, both in government or in corporate. But when we see, I'm trying to picture one dark-skinned woman in a high-profile position right now. And
you shouldn't have to think that hard.
And I shouldn't.
You should not, but it's the reality of it is you really do.
It's there.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things that, this is a serious, my grandmother is from Louisiana. Great-grandmother, albino. And she, I think it was ingrained in her to the light-skinned children would be probably, and not my grandmother, my great-grandmother. The light-skinned children will have the better.
Because they really did. They did, right? You know? Yeah.
And so, has that changed somewhat? I don't see the evidence, you know.
Right.
but we hope. I don't, you know.
I always say that Black people, we have many cracks in our own foundation that we have to work on, you know, while we're battling the world right now. But at the same time, it's like, we need to fix these things too, you know, within our own culture. And it's hard, you know, because I think people say, oh, well, slavery was so long ago, or this, and that was so long ago. And I had a conversation with a friend. I said, my grandparents, they didn't go inside of a person's house, a white person's house, unless they were going there to cook or clean. I said, that was my grandmother. You know what I mean? That wasn't so long ago. I'm like, my mom remembers her first day of school when they integrated schools. I said, that's my mom. So these things aren't so long ago.
Well, we just mentioned Lamarck High School in our area didn't integrate
in the 70s.
until 1971.
And I'm like, we were born in the 70s, you know.
That was after the Vietnam War, essentially, or more or less toward the end of it. So that's within 50 years.
Yeah. And if you consider it, I think the passage of the Civil Rights Act 56 years ago. My mother is, I believe she's 65. Sorry, Mama, for telling your age.
He didn't call your whole age. I got sorry, all Mama. Your business out here in the streets, you know?
But that's not even a lifetime.
Exactly.
Ago, right? Yeah. And when you put that in context, how much has changed? Do we have an obligation as a people to further educate ourselves? And what I mean by that is, you know, learn more about history. Absolutely. Still, and I always say this, best analogy I've ever heard is, you play Monopoly, and you play it 400 times in a row. The first 200 times, really, nobody ever allows you to advance. You can't get any money, you can't do anything. You can't even read the board.
Right.
How is that going to affect you for generations down the line? And I think that plays a part in our psyche as well too. Like you said, if you were light skinned and you were in the house, you dark skinned and you're outside. Yeah. So,
and we could be of the same blood.
Right.
Yes, but you know, and that is taught. Every generation knows about that. So when we get back from this break, we're going to talk about a topic that is on everyone's mind. No, it is not COVID. It is the Black Lives Matter movement. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Libra Lounge with Keisha. I want to remind you guys to make sure you're following us on Instagram and on Facebook. And before Producer James has to remind me, like for the umpteenth time, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Anything else, sir?
Support us on Patreon.
The Patreon, where, you know, normally I call it the Patriots and stuff like that. But just get on there pay us for what we do. All right, so we're back with Keith Henry. So let me ask you, do you think that the death of George Floyd was just the straw that broke the camel's back in regards to inequality with Black people and police brutality?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So with, we're in an interracial relationship, and I know that when all of this was going on, I'll never forget one day, James and I and my daughter, I can't remember where we were. And the first, huh?
It was in the living room.
No,
house.
not that time.
Oh, different time.
The other different time. We got to do a lot of arguments about race. We're like, the 12 years we've been together, we have never, ever, ever been at odds with one another because of race. And I remember the first cop got arrested, and James was like, I don't understand why people are still protesting. They arrested the guy.
No, that wasn't me. That was my mom.
No, we ain't going to.
No, I never said that.
Her. We got to sage the whole building now. You talked about your mama.
No, I never said that.
He did.
No.
But to me, it let me know that white people didn't understand that it wasn't just George Floyd. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was from a history, a documented history of police brutality and Black men being the target of that. Right. So what do you think it was about this death that just really did it? Because it was only like a short time after Ahmaud Arbery was killed.
I think the knee on the neck, unfortunately, was symbolic of how Black folks have felt for so many years.
Right.
Not just with police brutality, just with everything we've endured and continue to endure on a daily basis. And when you couple that with most folks are inside, it's bound for an explosion.
Because everyone was watching. The world was watching because we were on lockdown.
Right. And you just think about his words.
Yeah.
When you see a grown man screaming for his own mother, in particular, that resonates with the Black community because it's so many. And look, we need to dispel this notion too. There's single moms in every
race. Yes. Right.
We know the struggle as Black folks to be raised by a single mom.
Right.
And that it's really undescribable. And I guess we keep on going back to this. After the statement, enough is enough.
Yeah.
That's how we feel. We feel as if all we want to do is just give us some air and just give us a chance.
Yeah.
And if we take the chance, great. If we don't, so be it. But just
at least we had the chance.
At least we had the chance.
Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah. But it needed to happen. Power is not given to the oppressor freely. Right. It never will be. I mean, to the oppressed freely.
Right.
It never will be. And sometimes we can get complacent with, as Malcolm X or even Dr. Du Bois called the Bourgeois Negroes, right? We get comfortable in our nice subdivisions and nice homes, and we have a decent salary, and still not really leading anything. And then that wakes us back up.
Yeah, and it did.
That can be my boy.
Yeah,
that can be my brother.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
we had to defend it a lot because, with my group of friends, I always tell people, when you come to our party, you're going to have local politicians and you might have a drug dealer there and everything in between. But I found myself having to remind people that I am friends with, because they're like, well, you're married to a white man. What the hell does that have to do with me being black? I'm still Black. My brothers are Black. My dad is Black. My uncles are Black. My best friend's son is Black. I'm like, what does our relationship have to do with that? And they got to see a side of me in regards to race that they had never seen before. And everyone, as far as saying, I'm not your token Black friend. You know, because I felt, I'm like, I'm not your token. You're like, this is the one who's okay to invite over to the house.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
You were the safe one.
I was a safe one. And that caused a lot of tears. And it was a reality check that I needed, because I was nice and comfy and cozy. And you described it perfectly, you know. But it's like, no, I need to be doing more, you know.
And you mentioned the optics in terms of Ahmaud Arbery and then George Floyd. Ahmaud Arbery was two terrible human beings that took a life. George Floyd is a state actor with the power of law behind him, able to do that. And just, it was, I think the other part that got to people maybe was the complacency of everyone
the other
else.
Officers, and then you hear the bystanders saying, "Get off him! He cannot breathe," and just.
It's one of those things. I don't know art, but I know what I like or don't like.
Right.
It's that no one seemed to have the urgency of something wrong is actually happening here.
Right.
Just the sheer act of inhumanity, right?
Yeah.
It'd be something in you has to say,
"This is wrong. Let me stop this right now." It. Yeah.
And just want to add, we often forget about Ahmaud Arbery.
Yeah.
You know, and certainly there may have been two rogue individuals, yet the story still goes. They were reported to the DA.
Well, it was months between the act and the district attorney saying, "Nah, I'm not going to really touch that one." There was a lot of
social media demanding justice for him. And I'm like, again, we shouldn't have to do that, you know? You know, I think that Black people like you and I, people assume we don't face racism. So have you had anything racist or had any issues with racism being in the professional aspect of your life?
Oh yeah.
Please share.
Most definitely. I've dealt with early on in my career a lot of what we call dog whistles, microaggressions, and ironically enough, both here and in suburban Atlanta, about a little an hour outside of Atlanta, there was a white mayor. I was a finalist for a city manager position. She literally took my resume off the desk and said the city isn't ready for a Black leader. Now, what's interesting about that, one of the most unlikely individuals reported her because she just thought it was wrong. It was actually a Republican white woman who said, no, this is not right. He's the most qualified applicant we have. He should be interviewed. Something very similar happened to me. Nobody spoke up in my own backyard, right? And that scenario was effectively I had to fight to become a finalist because they didn't follow their own city's protocol. And then when I got there for my interview, now mind you, at the time I had flew from Washington, D.C., they told me to wait because the current individual that they hired, white man, he can't make the interview. Then they called him multiple times.
Well, then you missed your opportunity then.
Right, you know, and so I actually did file an EEOC claim. And that claim was accepted. I did not follow through, however, with that claim because at the time I had a really good friend who had just passed of cancer. So, yeah, a really good friend that just passed of cancer, and I just couldn't. Not with two lawsuits at the same time.
That's a lot.
Really, I couldn't do it.
And you're going through mourning at the same time. That's a lot. But people would just assume by seeing you, hearing you talk, and then your long list of achievements that, oh, you must not. It's like, yes, we still do.
You know, the interesting thing is, I think because of my intellect or even just accomplishments, I'm probably more of a threat now, you know, than I was when I was a kid hanging out in Galveston, Texas. And because to them, the same thing a lot with women,
Mm-hmm.
we know you can be a leader, and we know you're going to make decisions on our behalf. Right. That they don't, many folks.
They don't like that.
They don't like that.
So has there been a time that you have feared being in this leadership role?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have a physical fear. Mm-hmm. I do have a fear that someone will try to take a job away. Yeah. They'll try to have these called quote unquote white collar type of erroneous moves against me. That that's really and most black folks, particularly black men, we have to be honest with ourselves that it's palpable. That type of fear. You can't put it this way. My grandfather always tells me, always know who you are and where you are. Yeah. And what he means by that is, even if you get comfortable, you don't have the option or the luxury to get comfortable as a black person in America, or a black man. And got to know your sugar from shit. Yeah. Basically.
Yes, you do. Yep,
you have to know your sugar from shit. And we can sit at the perch, or we can accumulate that, but not everybody's happy about it. And
absolutely. Now let me ask you this. So from George Floyd's death, the words Black Lives Matter, to where we are right now and the words Black Lives Matter, what do you think has happened? Because it started off being one thing, and now it's a group of terrorists. And someone told me, and I was like, do you know the definition of terrorist? I'm like, can you? It's the same thing with the confusion between a protest and a riot. Right. Those are two different things. Like a protest is not. No, we don't want to fight. You know what I mean? We just want to march, hold up our signs, and let you know that we're not giving up. A rioter, it's so frustrating at times. It really is. But have you seen a difference, like a shift in the meaning of those words?
I think there's been a major paradigm shift. Mm-hmm. It's not as widely accepted as I would prefer it to be. Mm-hmm. The only real issue is it's still, many people are very vehemently opposed to the term. Right. Which, I think is this, like you said, this malicious, violent group of individuals and that's not the case. All we're saying is, hey, look, we're human, we're here too, we exist. Just treat us like we're human and we exist. Right. My fear for the Black Lives Matter mantra is, and I applaud the NBA. Mm-hmm. I applaud the multiple corporations who came out in support of it. Right. I just don't want it to be this popular culture movement. Yeah. Temporarily, and then all of a sudden we regress back into the status quo. Yeah. So, you can't really change folks' minds necessarily. If they've grown up, they've been taught all these negative pathologies about black folks, and what would we do? But you can change policy.
Yes, you can.
And so now, and what I tell any black folk, white person, what I tell any person is, look, go vote.
Take that same energy to the poll.
It's something you said on one of your other podcasts about why you don't go out to the protest.
No. I'm behind the scenes working. It's too hot.
This is Southeast Texas.
Yes, in the summer. Yes,
summertime.
Yeah,
it It is 180 outside.
Yes, it is. And I will go up there and I will mess it up for everybody.
Right.
Everyone will leave me like, we can't stand that bitch. She messed up the whole protest. She whined. She complained. She fell out. She had an asthma attack. No. Some of us are meant to just be behind the scenes working. And I'm that type of chick till it's fall or winter. What, James?
No, I was just saying because, well, Keisha, you made a good point. I think.
Okay, go ahead, carry on.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
yes,
It's okay if I say it now, right? So, there was two things you said a couple episodes ago. One was, you weren't really in favor of companies that spend one day changing their Twitter profile and then go right back to all their normal practices. Right. So that was, yeah, that was something. And the other thing was, I lost it. I feel bad for jumping in.
We can't rely on him to do nothing. We can't even rely on him to keep up with his own thoughts. You know what I mean? I'm just go ahead and do the soundboard, producer James.
You got it. You got it, James. You got it. Yeah,
it's, we were talking, like, I want people to know, about the office that you're running for, because I got to tell you, I feel very bad for our local politicians or those who are running for office, because you can't even shake people's hands right now. So, how is that going?
That puts me at a distinct disadvantage as a challenger.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's literally a political science scholar, everything I know is now out of the window.
Right.
It's still been going well. We've been able to adapt. I have an amazing staff. They're go-getters. Wayne.
When he has his readers.
And so we've effectively used social media. We still have a way to touch the public. And I think a message is always needed. Our platform is what my particular district needs, which is predominantly Black. Across the city of Texas City, which many people don't know, it is 29% Black and Latino individuals are below the poverty line. And my district has faced some crime challenges recently.
Texas City has been in the news a lot lately. Y'all have become the new Florida. It's just like, that really just happened? Yeah.
And that's a combination of both idleness. So in my district, there's currently little to no youth development programs.
Wow.
And so we need to change that. Part of my platform is to put reading literacy initiatives into my district across the board. We also want to do, when we talk about youth and workforce development, we want to help students find and students about outside my purview. So let me say, we want to help our youth find other outlets.
Right.
And recreation is great. We do want to incorporate that. We also want to say, hey, you know what? Let's find a partnership with some welding programs. Let's find a partnership with some attorneys. Let's find a partnership with veterinarians. So show these professions that can be obtained,
right? But
in their formative years.
Not being a rapper.
Yeah,
not being a rapper, not being a YouTube star. You know what I mean?
And somewhat I encourage that.
Yeah.
I tell, with my students, if you want to be a rapper, why don't you learn all facets of the entertainment industry?
There you go.
Learn how to be a producer. Learn how to play different music instruments.
Yes.
That's key. And I always go back to the reading component, because what we see in the data is, and for some reason I can never get this data right, but we see that by the third grade, I think about 60% of students, not just, and ironically enough, it's actually white students who are not as functionally literate as Blacks, are probably the highest functioning, but it's still at 60%. But if you are not functionally literate by the third grade, data indicates that you have a over 70% chance of being incarcerated.
Wow.
So we got to start at a early age, and that's why reading is vitally important. hence the term reading is fundamental.
Yes, it is.
So those are some of the probably the main issues in my district. We also have to face the beast of gentrification, right? We know that all of Southeast Galveston or Southern Galveston County is growing right now because we're in a large Houston metroplex, and my district being predominantly black and many individuals elderly, right? What's going to happen when those homes are being taken? And so we want to deal with some community revitalization issues. We want to keep people in their homes as best we can, and that's likely a county fight. I don't want to get this long government.
No. I mean, everything that you're saying, you're spot on, and I think that people forget about those things.
Right. I'm really glad to hear about the focus on some of the trades, some because
yes, that is very important.
I'm huge on that because a lot of kids have been sold the idea that college
you have to go to college. You have to go to college. Yes,
not true,
and it's not.
What's interesting? I had a student, and I made him look up salaries. I said, look at my salary as a teacher. Now look at this welder salary. He looked at me and he said, Mr. Henry, I'm doing well.
I have selected my career as of right now. Thanks for the talk.
I'm telling you.
And you will always have a job.
Well, you'll have a job. You'll have a skill. If you're willing to travel, you can go work anywhere in the country. Yeah. They need pipeline welders right now at 6 figures. If you take a scuba diving class, you can go do underwater welding in Galveston for $1,000 an hour contract.
Okay, where is that? How do I apply for that job right there?
And it's totally based on your ability to learn and your ambition to work.
I mean, our daughter is about to go to college, and what we explained to her is that we are more than happy to fund your education, but we will not fund your education if you plan on being a philosophy major. If your goal is not to teach philosophy, then there's no reason for you to be a philosophy major but they see these things on the internet. One of the things that I see is like they have those fixer-upper shows where there's a couple and someone comes in and the woman's like, oh, I grow cocoa beans for a living, and the husband's like, yeah, and I paint artwork and our budget is $5 million. Like, how is that possible? And that's what our kids are seeing. They're not hearing about, someone's grandparent left them all the money. So they want the instant gratification. You know what I mean? And I think we have just really banged it to them that college, and like there's no other options, but there are some other options, trade schools,
Yeah, that whole work smarter, not harder, I think was the worst message you could give a generation of people. Yeah. Because all it did was it made work and labor and good work worth doing look bad, look sub, look it was lesser, which is a shame.
Right. So, now let me ask you, do you think that it's important that, I always say that we're in a race war right now, because some days it does feel like it, like people are having to defend being black, having to defend being white, and it's just like, we can't help what we are, So do you think that right now is a good time that more people of color run for their local offices?
Yes, absolutely. There was a conversation I was having with actually a young man from here, Dickinson, and he was asking, what can we do in terms of strategy? I said, run for office. This guy, and the reason why a lot of people don't understand that local government runs your life. Local government, the police chief is chosen by city council.
Right.
Your fire chief is chosen by city council. Your fire chief and the fire department, they do codes for the building. Right. So everybody, or most folks, particularly in leadership positions, your manager is chosen by city council. Right. It's always been a good time for people of color to run for office. Right. I just think we've become apathetic, and it's not just black folks. Again, and I have to always qualify that. We look at the current runoff, the primary runoff, only 5% of Galveston County voted.
Wow.
Can you imagine? So can you imagine 5%? right? In one of the largest counties in Texas, in one of the largest metropolitan areas in the United States. 5%. So what change do you expect to happen if you don't show up?
Yeah.
You know, it's really simple. Register, go press a button. Now, in terms of running for office, there's some economic challenges. We have to realize that white households have a median household average of $101,000, a little over $101,000 a year, compared to black households at $5.04. So where do we get the infrastructure and the money to really be viable candidates? But we are. But it's a coalition of things. If we can get together for the barbecue, and I love me a good barbecue. A brother love a good barbecue.
And baked beans and ribs and all those kind of delicacies.
And some crown, but
keep that energy up.
Let's go. And the reason why I use the example of the downtown protest, the protest, it is 180 degrees.
Yeah, but they showed up.
In Texas, they showed up. But if all of that
means nothing
if you don't show up November 3rd, and you don't show up not just this November 3rd, but next election cycle and the next election cycle. Just run. And the brother I was talking to, I was telling him, look, you don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to have a law degree. Hell, you don't have to have a degree. You got some sense. You got some good common sense.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Please, because some of these city councils around here, they most definitely need change. You know what I mean? They need some new life in them. You know, you've got, I think we have someone on city council that's like 900 years old. They don't even know what they're talking. They have flip phones and stuff like. I was like, this person cannot understand the world right now. You just can't. It's time to retire from being a city council member. So I want to end with this question to you. If you could pen a letter to a black men right now, what would be the keynote?
Right now, ironically, maybe a couple of years ago, I actually wrote an article to black men. And it's entitled "Survivor's Influence." And what I said effectively was pay it forward. We have a duty to each other.
Right.
Yes, we are each other's role model. Not just what I do for my son or for my nephew. I do for the other young man on the corner. And there's a story I always like to tell. Growing up in Galveston, the Galveston that I know, underserved community. I mean, it was what the rumor said.
Right.
You know, there was this dope dealer. He came to me one day. Well, I had to go to him. He said, "Hey, twin."
Do y'all still get called twin? Oh my God.
He said, "Hey, twin, come holler at me." And I was like,
uh-oh.
But I gotta go.
Right. Because the local drug dealer, when they say come in, you come here.
I had to go.
Yeah.
And he said, "I'm gonna tell you something. I better not ever catch you on this corner selling drugs, else I'm gonna whoop your ass."
Right.
He just told me just like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And those weren't idle threats. He was really being serious.
Oh, I believe you. When a drug dealer say they're gonna do something of violence to you, they're not playing.
Yeah, he was really being serious. And so from that moment on, they never allowed me on the corner. I had to go to school.
Right.
The drug dealers made me do that.
Yep.
And I don't know. I almost choke up.
Yeah, I mean, even just seeing it, I'm like, okay, they saw something.
Yeah.
He saw something in you.
Yeah.
You know.
And he, again, they get the message got around.
Right.
And twin was in school. Twin went off to college and did well. But I will never forget that.
Right.
And that was his duty to me.
Right.
Right. And yeah, we have a duty to each other. I don't care if you're selling 10 pounds of weed or marijuana. Right. You should find another occupation.
We would prefer that, but do what you gotta do.
However, you gotta reach down to and not just reach out. We got to reach out, reach down to help each other. So that's what I'll tell them.
Right.
You have an obligation to the brother sitting next to you.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. I don't care if you don't like him. I don't care if you like his mama. But guess what? Your legacy is tied to him.
Right.
His legacy is tied to somebody else.
Right.
And that's how we'll continue to move forward.
And he saw something in you where his words have led to you being right here, right now.
Oh, yeah.
And your words are going out to other black men.
Yeah.
So it's a continuation. And if we could just always do things like that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And not forget where we come from. And like you, we came back home to open up our businesses, and people always say, well, wow, because this is home, this is what we need, you know, so we can, you know, provide jobs for people in our town, you know.
You know, and this kind of last thing, one of the biggest criticisms I received when I came back home is, why are you running? We don't know you. And it's hurtful in a bit, because my biggest thing is my wife will probably like, to be honest with you, I can go anywhere in the country and make a handsome salary. Yet I choose to come back home and serve my community. Right. Because to me, that is my obligation. Right. It gave to me, I want to give back. Yep. And
that's how it goes. Okay, now tell everybody how they can follow you on social media, how they can get out there and support you on your campaign. Tell them any and everything that they need to know.
Oh, support us at www.henryactiontoday.com. You can check out Facebook and Instagram. We also have a Twitter.
Y'all on the Twitter? I don't understand the Twitter that much.
I really don't either.
I don't get it.
I get it to Wayne. And
okay, Wayne, I need you to do that for me too, because the Twitter has me confused quite often.
It has somebody in Washington, D.C. confused too.
If we could just get off the Twitter and do other things, you know, maybe we as a country could really start making some changes, but no.
Probably so. Yeah.
And so are you going to be speaking anywhere locally? Oh, probably not, because, you know, we damn near still in quarantine, can't shake hands, can't give hugs or nothing like that.
No, I plan to speak on the next Black Lives Matter march here in Dixon. So.
Now, when is that? Because I've heard that it is happening.
It is.
Is it this week? I'm not going to be up there marching. So, town hall?
We also have a town hall meeting that I'm going to schedule, and I want to talk about, we're going to do actually dual language.
Oh, okay, perfect.
For individuals and virtual learning.
Yes. So, smart. Now you have to do stuff virtually, in person, and you're doing right. You're doing it right. So if someone wanted to support you, they just go to your website?
Go to my website.
Okay.
They can sign up to be a volunteer.
Okay.
They can donate.
Okay. Those donations do help when you're running a campaign. So every dollar does count, and it does help. So don't forget to tell girls that they did a good job. They may have to come dress me. Can they have a plus size?
And I'm not keep up. This is my last story. So my daughter, youngest, she's going to be a future president, by the way.
All right now.
Okay. She came to me the other day. I guess I taught her well. She demanded an interview. Absolutely said, she said, no, Dad, you're giving me an interview.
Okay, now.
What time do I need to be there? She dressed up in her dress, was there promptly in the office at about, what time did the interview was? I think it was scheduled for 4 o'clock. She was there at 3:55.
You always show up?
Dad was late. She let me know I was late. And then, so we went through the interview. She crushed it. I'm a little biased, by the way.
Of course, I get it.
And then today, she said, Dad, I need to talk to you about my salary.
You talked that baby well. You did.
She said, this is what I want. I want $5 an hour plus snacks. And Starbucks.
That's the bonus. That's the bonus structure right there. The snacks and Starbucks.
And she said, I'm not taking anything less.
You have done a very good job.
I'm a very proud dad.
Yes, that is a very proud dad moment right there. She's like, and I'm not playing with you. And I need your signature right here.
No, she's not. She's very serious. Again, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for coming down here. Best of luck. I'm sure we will keep in touch. And I just have a feeling. But I'm not going to jinx it. But I just have a feeling about you. Make sure you guys are following him on social media, and we will be right back with the Bitch Please of the Week. I want to thank my guest, Keith Henry, for coming into the studio, and we want to thank you guys for tuning in. According to producer James, our downloads are going up week by week. Hurry up, make me famous, but most importantly, make me rich, okay? So it's time for me to award the Bitch Please of the Week by the Libra Lounge.
Bitch Please! You be rolling down the street, telling stories. Bitch, you never tell the truth. Bitch Please! Everybody know you lying, bitch, cause all you do is lie.
You guys know, everyone knows, I love reality television, and one of my favorite reality TV shows is Southern Charm. Now, there was a lot of controversy with this crew. A few months back, remember, Catherine Dennis got into a Twitter feud with a black, I can't remember if she's, what her role was. I want to say she's a writer, but they were going at it. And at some point, I think Catherine got off flabbergasted. She probably was Percocet out, and she sent monkey emojis to this person. Ooh, no, you cannot do that. And of course, this young lady let the whole world know what Catherine had done. So she lost jobs. She lost some of the, how you get celebrities to do the ads for you and stuff like that. She lost a lot of work and a lot of money. Y'all know I love Catherine Dennis. But then like a week after that, 3 of her Southern Charm co-stars quit the show because Catherine has spread rumors that Cameron Eubanks' husband was a cheater, okay? So for a while, Catherine went on and said that she's not racist. I mean, that's what every racist person says. They always say they're not racist. And that she was so sorry, and that she was told not to address this, but she was going to address this issue. And that was like 2 months ago. And she's been kind of radio silent as far as social media goes until last week. Why do people do this? She made sure that all of her recent photos and Instagram stories, she was in there with black people. Why? Then not only that, now she's dating a black man. Now, Catherine, now you're about to get written out the family will. You know damn well you have never dated a black man before in your life, but until right now. You are using this man to get back in good, hoping that you get your job back at Gwen's. That's not going to happen. And I find it quite offensive now that you are all chummy. We have never ever seen you with a black person, not on the show, not on your Instagram account, never, ever. Well, I haven't even seen you with a Mexican person. Now all of a sudden you're dating a black guy with dreads. Come on, Catherine.
With dreads?
With dreads.
So she went like,
oh,
I also have black friends times 10.
Next she's going to be pregnant and have a half-black baby just to get back right good. You know what I'm saying? It's a publicity stunt. She is willing to get pregnant by this man to say, I'm not racist. But you know what? Bitch, slave owners was racist too, and they had a lot of mixed kids. So, Catherine Dennis, that is why you get the Bitch Please of the Week from the Libra Lounge with Keisha. Do better, bitch. I like you. Do better. She probably ain't even she probably paid that boy. You think she's really dating him? She at least got dick down, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean,
you got to get the dick down. The coochie kente, the mendango.
Yeah, they probably fucked enough so they don't have to lie about it on camera.
Yeah, so she can, yes, that's what I'm saying. She probably has like a little thing where she's keeping the sperm in case things get bad again and she go ahead and do the artificial insemination so she can have that half-black baby.
So basically, she may be paying him for this service too.
Yes.
So basically, she's racist.
Girl, just
Pay for a black guy.
I would have get with Ellen and go with Ellen when she go to that African country and feed the little hungry African kids. That would mean a lot more to us than you being dicked down by a black guy. So make sure you tune in next week. I think we're gonna be talking about our relationship on our next show since our anniversary is coming up. Is that? See how he don't act right at all. You are never in front of the mic talking when I need you to be. But when I'm over here trying to talk, you're at the mic waiting on me to take a breath so you can say something.
What'd you need?
Nothing. We'll see you guys next week.
It's the Libra Lounge. The Libra Lounge. Ooh.